Oh, Kim, I will also call on each senator who's the prime sponsor to introduce their part of the legislation.
Okay, we are all set. We are broadcasting. We have attendees and we're on YouTube.
Okay, thank you very much, Kim. Welcome, everyone. I am Senator Sharon Carson from Senate District 14. Today, we will be holding a meeting of the Senate Committee on Executive Departments and Administration. As the chair of the Senate Committee on Executive Departments and Administration, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04 and its extensions, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. In accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that 1, we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possible by video and other electronic means. We are utilizing Zoom for this electronic meeting. All members of the committee and selective legislative staff have the ability to communicate contemporaneously in this meeting through this platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously watch or listen to the meeting on Zoom or YouTube and via phone by following the directions and links provided on the General Court website. 2, we have provided public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting in the Senate calendar. 3, we are providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anyone has a problem, please email remotesenate@leg.state.nh.us or call area code 603-271-6931. 4, in the event the public is unable to access the meeting, it will be adjourned and rescheduled. 5, please note that all votes taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call. 6, finally, let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state where they are and if anyone else is in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. I will call the roll. Senator Ricciardi.
Good morning, everyone. Denise Ricciardi. I am in this room alone, but my husband is in the house.
Okay. Good morning, Senator Kavanaugh.
Hello, Kevin Kavanaugh, my home in Manchester. I am currently alone. My wife is in the house. Thank you.
Senator Prentice.
I'm Senator Prentice. I'm at home in West Lebanon, New Hampshire, and my husband is in the house.
Okay. Senator Reagan.
Senator Reagan, I'm in my office by myself.
Okay. And Senator Carson, I am at my home in Londonderry, and my daughter is in the house with me, and I've got a bunch of rambunctious cats because I'm cat sitting my daughter's cat. So you might see a cat walk by. It's just to alert everybody, just to let them know. Okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start public hearing on Senate Bill 105. Just so the public knows, Senate Bill 105 is an omnibus piece of legislation, and I'm going to read each part and then recognize the prime sponsor of each part to introduce their part of the bill. Part 1 is LSR 21-0904, which was prime sponsored by Senator Kavanaugh. Part 2, LSR 0909, which was prime sponsored by Senator Perkins Quokka. And Part 3 is LSR 21-0919, which was sponsored by Senator Hennessy. So we're going to recognize Senator Kavanaugh to introduce his part 1.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. Again, my name is Kevin Kavanaugh, Senator for District 16, the towns of Bow, Candia, Dunbarton, Hooksett, and Manchester wards 1, 2, and 12. And today I'm introducing Senate Bill 105, which is a bill adopting, oh, I'm sorry, you went over the omnibus legislation, so I'm just going to stick to my part, I guess.
Okay.
I will be speaking to part 1. And I filed legislation to make my 603 the 11th state song. This song was written by Nicole Knox Murphy from Candia, New Hampshire in 2016. Since then, she has performed it in many venues across the state, including for Governor Sununu. This morning, I think Nicole is here to perform if the chair allows. And so if you're here, Nicole, please raise your hand so you can. And so with that, thank you, Madam Chair, and I'm happy to take any questions from you or the committee. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Senator. Next, I'm going to recognize Senator Perkins Quokka to introduce her part of the bill, part 2.
Yes, good morning, committee members. Thank you so much for having me this morning. I'm honored to be here to introduce my portion of SB 105 concerning naming October 13th as Metastatic Breast Cancer Awareness Day. For the record, I'm Senator Rebecca Perkins Quokka, and I represent the cities of Portsmouth, Durham, Newmarket, Newington, Newfields, Madbury, and Lee. I have a constituent here this morning, Laura, who will probably speak more to the bill, but happy to be a part of it and happy to take any questions from the committee.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Senator. And finally, we will recognize Senator Hennessy to introduce part 3.
Good morning, Senator Carson and other honorable members of the committee. I am Erin Hennessy and I represent Senate District 1. I'm the prime sponsor of Section 3. And on April 8th of 2024, we have a very exciting event coming to New Hampshire. And the best place to see this event will be in northern New Hampshire in Coos County, and it is a total solar eclipse. And its path will go right over my district. This event is going to be excellent for our students and for tourism. We saw a few years ago when there was another total eclipse that you couldn't get hotel rooms anywhere where it was visible, and there was traffic jams, and it was just a very exciting event. So I'm hoping that we recognize it now, a few years out, so that our students and our schools can start to plan and purchase the necessary glasses or get these glasses donated, because it really will be an exciting event. And Mr. Rick Eames is on the call to take any questions you have about this. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Do any of the committee members have questions for any of the 3 sponsors of their parts of the bill? Okay, seeing none, thank you all very much. Senator Kavanaugh, we're going to take up your part of the bill first. So why don't we, I don't see your, this person on the list of people who, oh, Nicole Knox Murphy, correct?
Correct.
Okay, why don't we let her through and have her introduce herself?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Hi, my name is Nicole Knox Murphy from Candia, New Hampshire. I'd like to, I'm not going to perform the song. I figured everyone was given the MP3, the lyrics, and my music video to view. So I figured I would do a little My Journey of the 603 song, kind of just do a little speech on it. Would that be okay with everyone?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay, Madam Chair and the committee members, thank you for letting me speak. So the journey of the My 603 song that going on the SB 105. The fall of 2015, the inspiration of writing this song came to me on the back of a motorcycle riding through Franconia Notch with my husband. A week later, the lyrics and melody were set and My 603 was born. February 2016, I took a trip to Nashville to record my second album. And my second album is called Music Is in My Heart, where the My 603 song is the second track on that album. And the journey continues. Fall of 2016, I reached out to Jim Moscow of West Side Video to create a music video for the song. We released the music video on YouTube 6 weeks later on October 29th, 2016. We have a lot of great drone footage and landscapes of New Hampshire while I sing the song. So it's a great way to see my version and how I feel about the song through that music video. In the spring of 2017, Music in My Heart album won New Hampshire CMA Country Music Award for CD of the Year. With that honor, I was allowed to compete in the national competition, and my album took a national awards in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, where it received Most Promising Album of the Year and 2018 Rising Star Songwriter of the Year down in Tennessee. And My 603 was the second track on that album. In 2017, in June, I was invited to sing My 603 for Governor Sununu and his council at the State House. It was such an honor. And the 603 journey continues. Spring, May 2019, by pure luck, I was singing at a celebration of the Sweeney Post's 100th anniversary on the patio, when to my surprise, Mayor Joyce Craig showed up, and I was able to sing My 603 song to her live. Mayor Craig said she loved the song. She took one of my CDs and went to work helping me get the song recognized by the state. A few weeks later, she introduced me to Senator Kavanaugh to start and help me with the process. Thank you, Senator Kavanaugh and Mayor Craig. The journey continues. Summer, August 2019, I was invited to sing My 603 at the Northeast Delta Stadium on the field just before the Fisher Cats game. That was a bucket list for me. I sang My 603 on many local radio stations and many fairs throughout the state to continue to get My 603 out there. June of 2020. During this crazy time of the pandemic, Senator Kavanaugh and State Senate President Donna Soucy honored My 603 on June 29, 2020. They recognized my song as a New Hampshire Senate resolution. I was and still am deeply honored, and the journey continues. December 2020, Senator Kavanaugh entered My 603 as a bill to be voted on in New Hampshire for New Hampshire State Song, as Senate Bill 105. Thank you for that, Senator Kavanaugh. So here we are today, February 3rd, 2021. Senate Bill 105 for My 603 journey will hopefully be continued in the Senate and fingers crossed onto the House. It has been an amazing journey these past 6 years on a song I wrote out of love for my state as I give it as a gift to New Hampshire. My name is Nicole Knox Murphy. I am a wife of 37 years, I'm a mother of 3 grown children, grandmother of 5, and a local singer-songwriter. I thank you for this time. And I thank Madam Chair and the committee members for listening.
Thank you very much for your testimony this morning. Are there any questions from the committee? I see Senator Kavanaugh has his hand raised.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just want to say thank you to Nicole. I mean, it's a small part that I had to do, but she's done all the work on this, and it's just getting to know her, seeing not only the pride that she has in My 603, but also just being a part of New Hampshire. And just want to thank you for all your hard work, and thank you for the song, Nicole.
And I thank you guys very much too.
Okay, are there any further questions from the committee? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much for your testimony this morning. Next, we'll have David McDonald.
I don't see Mr. McDonald on the list. However, Mr. McDonald, if you're here, could you raise your hand, please? I don't see any hand raised.
Okay, why don't we go to Rick Yames?
Mr. Yames, if you're here, could you raise your hand? I don't see you. I don't see any hands raised for him. Oh, I do see that Senator Hennessy raised her hand.
Okay, why don't we hear from Senator Hennessy?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm sorry, I'm getting a text from Rick and he is a first-time Zoom user, so I'm not quite sure if he knows how to raise his hand or how you could see him, but he was very excited to testify on this today. Maybe you could repeat the phone number so he could call in again, or he could call in instead of Zooming in.
Okay, Aaron, are you able to do that?
Let's see. I can do that. I actually have Mr. Yames' email and phone number, so let me see.
Okay.
Senator, while Aaron's doing that, Senator Perkins Cuoco has her hand raised.
Okay, let's hear from Senator Perkins Cuoco.
Yeah, I just wondered, my constituent was named Laura Inahara, and I wondered if Laura could also be given the opportunity to speak if she's interested.
Yes, she is on the list. She is the next person after we get this person connected.
Wonderful. Thank you, Senator.
You're welcome.
Senator, I did send him the link, so I'm not sure. I don't see him joining yet.
Okay, so why don't we move on to Laura Inahara,
Okay.
and then we'll circle back to Mr. Yames.
Laura, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Morning, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good morning. My name is Laura Inahara. I'm a resident of Durham, New Hampshire. Thank you to all for letting me speak and to Senator Perkins Cuoco for her guidance and support throughout this process. When most people think of breast cancer, they think of the color pink. And there's a false misconception that there's a cure for breast cancer. The purpose of commemorating October 13th as Metastatic Breast Cancer Awareness Day, also referred to as MBC in the state of New Hampshire, is for the public to understand MBC is not pink. It's a stage 4 incurable illness with a median life expectancy of only 2 to 3 years. The disease doesn't discriminate and impacts all regardless of age. 115 lives are lost daily to MBC in the US alone. I founded a campaign called Light Up MBC that originated in New Hampshire 4 years ago by lighting the Memorial Bridge in Portsmouth, New Hampshire in the MBC awareness ribbon colors of green, pink, and teal. The MBC awareness ribbon incorporates the colors of green and teal in addition to pink. Green represents triumph, life over death, and teal symbolizes healing and spirituality. The thin pink ribbon represents the cancer originated in the breast. The goal of the campaign is to literally shine a light on the disease and the lack of funding it receives. The campaign has grown significantly since inception. Last year on October 13th, every state in the US participated, as well as 4 international locations, by lighting a total of 160 significant landmarks in the MBC awareness ribbon colors. October 13th is recognized as at the federal level as the official Metastatic Breast Cancer Awareness Day. Other states have also joined in recognizing October 13th at the state level, with language inclusive of the New Hampshire originated Light Up MBC campaign. By the state of New Hampshire recognizing October 13th as Metastatic Breast Cancer Awareness Day, inclusive of Light Up MBC, it will help bring awareness to the public that 98% of all breast cancer related deaths are from MBC, yet less than 5% of breast cancer related funds raised go toward researching treatments for MBC. The MBC community lives depend on research. This is personal to me. I lost my best friend to this disease at 36 years old. We appreciate your support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony this morning, Ms. Inahara. Are there any questions from the committee? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. Do we have Mr. Yames yet?
I do see Mr. Yames.
Okay, let's get him connected.
Mr. Yames, you can unmute yourself.
There you go. Good morning, Mr. Yames.
Thank you. Sorry about the technical issues. I'm a little bit of an IT infant.
That's okay.
Give your testimony.
So what would you like to talk to us about?
Great. So I'd like to talk about SB 105, Part 3. Good morning, Madam Chair Carson, Vice Chair Regan, and committee members. My name is Rick Yames, and I'm a 33-year resident and 30-year Domino's Pizza franchisee here in Concord. As a passionate solar eclipse chaser, I traveled to Casper, Wyoming in August of 2017 to view what is truly a once, or in my case, twice in a lifetime event. I had the good fortune to view and experience at 100% the last TSE, total solar eclipse, here in the US. Subsequently, I discovered that the next US TSE on Monday, April 8th, 2024, will be 100% over Coos County and 95+% over the entire state of New Hampshire. For competitive purposes, for comparative purposes, the 2017 TSE was 65% over Concord. In the solar eclipse world, 65% is a lightning bug, while 100% is lightning. 2 years ago, I founded the New Hampshire Solar Eclipse Task Force with fellow Granite Staters in the areas of government and tourism, commerce, education, astronomy, and nonprofits in order to network everyone in New Hampshire to plan, promote, monetize, and celebrate this wondrous event. Basically, we have a celestial Super Bowl coming to our backyard, and we don't even need to build a $200 million stadium to take advantage of it. However, we do need to plan and prepare as much as possible and as early as possible to leverage our good fortune for the entire state. After networking nationally with the American Astronomical Society and NASA, I now know that there is no right time to start getting ready for a TSE. That leaves us with two options. Either we will be early or way too late. I started networking the 2017 TSE about a year and a half ahead and quickly realized I was way too late. Since after 2024, the next TSE to occur in New Hampshire will be in 2079, I have chosen to go nice and early with the New Hampshire TSE in 2024. Of course, that's not even taking into account a global pandemic, potential April blizzard, or anything else that can happen to us over the next 3 years. Good thing we started early. Last March, our identical HB 1382 passed the New Hampshire House by a vote of 244 yay to 67 nay. Thank you, Senator Hennessy, for sponsoring SB 105 Part 3 and for your past support as Representative Hennessy of HB 1382. I'm here today to ask each of you to vote OTP on SB 105 Part 3 so that our entire state will have enough time to plan, prepare, monetize, and celebrate this once-in-a-lifetime fun, spiritual, and peaceful event for the benefit of us all. Thank you, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, and committee members for your time and consideration of our request. I'm happy to answer any questions and/or provide any additional information that this committee may have and/or need. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony this morning, Mr. Yames. Are there any questions from the committee? Okay, seeing none, thank you again. Aaron, do we have anyone in the waiting room who would like to testify?
Senator, I don't see anyone with their hand raised or signed in.
Okay, I am going to go ahead and close the public hearing on Senate Bill 105. Okay. Next, I have to hand the gavel over to Senator Reagan because I am the co-sponsor of the next omnibus bill.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear Senate Bill 106, adopting omnibus legislation relative to codes, and we'll hear from the bill sponsor, Senator Carson.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Senator. Mr. Chairman, for the record, my name is Sharon Carson, and I have the pleasure of representing Senate District 14, comprising the towns of Londonderry, Hudson, and Auburn. And for your consideration, I have before you Senate Bill 106. This is an omnibus bill related to codes. It is in two parts. Part one is LSR 210972 that was sponsored by myself, Senator Carson. And part two is LSR 0974, establishing a committee to adopting changes to the state fire and building codes. And I was also the prime sponsor of that bill. So I will speak to the first bill, repealing the voluntary fire service equipment certification. Very quickly, this bill was a request from the state fire marshal. And on part two, establishing a committee to study adopting changes to the state building, fire and building codes. Again, this was also a request from the fire marshal. We had agreed a few years back that we were going to be 2 years behind in adopting codes. And so this is the 2018 code. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I will conclude my testimony, and I would like to ask everyone, if you have questions, please defer them, because we have speakers who will be able to answer your questions. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. Who do we have first to speak?
It looks like,
Oh, so
I'm
you're
sorry.
taking it back. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, first person we have is Paul Parisi.
Mr. Parisi, you should be able to unmute yourself. And if you could identify which section you're speaking on.
Thank you very much, Aaron. Good morning, everybody. For the record, my name is Paul Parisi, and it's my privilege to serve as a state fire marshal. And I'll open with speaking on part 1 relative to repealing the voluntary fire service equipment certification program. The voluntary fire service equipment certification program was established under Senate Bill 355 in 2004. The purpose of the program was to encourage service technicians who were installing and servicing fire equipment such as fire alarm systems, sprinkler systems, suppression systems, and fire extinguishers to be certified in New Hampshire. In order to be certified, the person would have to prove proficiency through an outside credentialing agency such as NICET or the ICC, or to be a licensed professional engineer or something similar. It was envisioned that this program would eventually be mandatory and would tighten up on the fly-by-night bad actors who are in business and not sufficiently trained or educated to be conducting these important operations. The program had originally had an advisory committee to assist the Commissioner of Safety with rulemaking and the implementation of the program. The advisory committee was repealed in 2010 under HB 1690. And the law has essentially remained unchanged since then, as has the administrative rules, which are SAFE-C 1200. In 2019, we began the review process for the readoption of the administrative rules. In conducting an analysis of the program, we discovered that there were fewer than 20 participants in the program, and the revenue was under $1,000 annually. We contacted various stakeholders in the trade, and the feedback was that really, unless the program was mandatory, there was little value in keeping it. We do envision working with our stakeholders and exploring the possibility of bringing the program back as in a mandatory capacity in the future. However, for now, we are advocating the repeal of the program under RSA 153.5. And that concludes my testimony on part 1. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I see Senator Prentice has a question.
Thank you very much, Senator Carson, and good morning, Marshal Parisi. Good to see you or hear you over Zoom. So let me just I just want to have clarity on this. So this was voluntary, but considered an important program, as you'd mentioned, bad actors. These are people who would have a voluntary certification for the maintenance, the technical maintenance on life safety systems like fire alarms.
Thank you for the question, Senator, and it's good to see you as well. Yes, that's exactly correct.
Okay. And so you're dialing this back because you're asking for this to be repealed because there's not strong compliance, there's little to no compliance and the rules aren't in place, and you want to approach a mandatory, are you planning to approach a mandatory certification? I guess is what I want to know.
Thank you, Senator, for the question. Someday, but I don't think it's any day in the near future. I think that it's something that we need to continue to explore. I think we need to look at it, more globally, but it's just not in the cards right now. And until we're ready to go at it in a more robust manner, I don't think that keeping the law on the books makes sense to us.
Senator Carson, follow up?
Yes, please.
Thank you. So leaving it on the books where it's not acted on puts us in a situation where, we're, on the state side, unable to fulfill that and oversee this. but at the same time, I've heard that, again, that this is important life safety equipment. So what happens without this? Is it something that your office still oversees, or is somebody watching for these, and you use the term bad actors?
Thank you, Senator. There are a number of municipalities that do have their a local, what they call certificate of fitness programs. So some of the larger municipalities will require fire alarm and sprinkler technicians to register with them. And certainly if the technicians are conducting alterations or installing new systems in those municipalities that have a permit system, then they would be required to pull a permit. And then certainly the authority having jurisdiction, typically the fire chief or the fire chief's designee, would be following up on and conducting inspections to make sure those systems are put in place correctly. And then certainly fire chiefs lean on us at the State Fire Marshal's office for technical assistance with that as well. But if essentially this program, because there's really no carrot or stick for us for this program, and so therefore it's a program that's hanging out there that we continue to have to manage, but yet with 19 participants in 2019 out of the probably thousands of technicians out there, it just didn't seem to make sense to continue to have it on the books. But again, I think it's someday, I think we need to, take another look at it and get everybody under the tent with it. But for now, I don't think it makes sense to keep it.
Okay. Thank you, Marshall Parisi. Thank you, Senator Carson.
Okay, are there any further questions for Marshall Parisi on this part of the bill? Okay, thank you. Marshall Parisi, would you like to speak to the second part of the bill?
Mr. Parisi, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Thank you very much, Aaron. Good morning once again, Senators, and for the record, Paul Parisi. It is my privilege to serve as your State Fire Marshal, and I'm here this morning to testify on Senate Bill 106 Part 2 relative to the establishment of a committee to study changes in the state fire and building codes. As Senator Carson pointed out, in November of 2018, in accordance with House Bill 1254, a report was issued by a legislative committee that was established to study procedures for the adoption of national codes by the state. And this report made 4 recommendations to remedy the struggle that we had in terms of code adoption. One of those recommendations was establishing a standard procedure and timeline for the adoption of a new code by the legislature. And the first principle of that recommendation suggested that we should have a process that would adopt the model codes that is one cycle behind. In other words, in 2021, we should be adopting the 2018 code edition. That way we would be adopting a code that had already been published for a full 3 years, and other jurisdictions nationally would have already adopted them. And through our network of stakeholders, would be able to hear feedback on any major concerns or issues that we may want to consider amendments here in New Hampshire through either the Board of Fire Control or the Building Code Review Board. So shortly after this report was issued, the General Court did adopt the 2015 model codes, both the life safety code as well as the building codes. It was a difficult lift in that year because we did a double jump. We went from the 2009 code set to the 2015 code set. So we skipped over the 12 code. And I think that the point of adopting the one code cycle behind principle is to make sure that we didn't fall that far behind like we did last year. However, I'm not here to speak on behalf of the Building Code Review Board, but I understand that they are still completing their work on vetting the multiple codes that they have under their purview. They not only have just the straight building code, but they have a residential code, an existing building code, they have the mechanical code. the energy code. So they have a lot of codes that they have to work their way through. And obviously this has been a very difficult year to meet, and we had a number of months that no one met. So they're still in the process of working, vetting through their codes. I can tell you that the Board of Fire Control has vetted out the 2018 Uniform Fire Code and the Life Safety Code. And just last month, they did adopt 9 separate exhibits that contained over 40 amendments to both of those codes in a proactive nature in the event that the legislature was in fact to adopt the 2018 code. So they're postured to go on the fire side. However, I do understand that there could be confusion moving the fire code first and not having the building code come with us. So although we're poised to move forward on the fire side, if the building side isn't quite ready yet, I would certainly encourage the establishment of a committee, and we would look forward to working with the committee and getting this done as expeditiously as possible. And I appreciate the committee's indulgence and be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much for your testimony this morning, Chief. Is there any questions? Are there any questions on the second part of the bill? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much this morning. Okay, next we're going to hear from Ari Pollock.
Mr. Pollock, you should be able to unmute yourself. If you could also identify which part you're speaking on.
Yes, good. Thank you, Aaron. Good morning, Senator Carson and members of the committee. This is Ari Pollock. I am a lobbyist for the New Hampshire Home Builders. I'm appearing today in support of Senate Bill 106, Part 2. We do not have a position on Part 1. Relative to Part 2, we do support the bill as introduced, which would be the creation of a legislative study committee to study adopting changes to the fire code and the building code suite. As the fire marshal explained a moment ago, the process of reviewing those model codes, making adjustments for application in New Hampshire, and more importantly, ironing out inconsistencies between certain codes, such as the Life Safety Code and the International Residential Code, is a work in progress. It is work being conducted as we speak by the Building Code Review Board and the Joint Committee on Code Enforcement, which actually is having a meeting right now, also virtual. And by the magic of Zoom, I was able to attend both that meeting and your committee hearing. However, we would like to see those inconsistencies ironed out before the codes move forward, so that the prime directive of the Home Builders Association is well served, which is predictability of process. There's nothing worse than starting a build without a full understanding of the rules of engagement and understanding exactly what is expected in order to complete that build and receive a certificate of occupancy. And so we think the study committee approach is the perfect way to keep the pressure on those groups to continue and complete their work and be in a position next year to have a bill come forward to move the 2018 life safety codes and suite of building codes into enactment in New Hampshire. And as we have in the past, the home builders will pledge their support and participation for those efforts and the efforts of the study committee. Happy to take any questions, Senator. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony this morning, Mr. Pollock. Are there any questions from the committee? Okay, seeing none. Thank you again.
Thank you.
And the chair will call Stephen Paquin.
Mr. Paquin, you should be able to unmute yourself. If you could also identify which part you're speaking on.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. My name is Steve Paquin. I am the Vice President of the New Hampshire Building Officials Association, and I am here in support of Senate Bill 106, Part 2. I will agree with my counterparts, Fire Marshal Parisi and Ari from the Home Builders, that we are in support of this bill as written. We will go on record saying that Ari stated that we wanted to hopefully be moving forward with the 2018 codes as of next year. I would like to see this study committee potentially put some pressure on the Building Code Review Board to get their subcommittees going a little bit faster and hopefully have the building codes in place this year. I think it's important for home builders and for building inspectors throughout the state of New Hampshire that we be on a more current code, which we agreed to in 2020 when we adopted the 2015s, that we would be one code cycle behind. The 2021 codes are currently out and being published, and we feel that we should be on the 2018s as soon as possible. With that, I will be more than happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much for your testimony this morning. Are there any questions from the committee? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. Aaron, do we have any folks in the waiting room who would like to speak?
Senator, I don't see any hands raised at the moment. And I don't see anyone else who signed in.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing on Senate Bill 106. Okay, we are 2 minutes behind, which is pretty good. And so I will open the public hearing on Senate Bill 104 and recognize the prime sponsor, Senator Reagan. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of Senate ED and A. I'm Senator John Reagan from Senate District 17, the heart of New Hampshire, and I bring to you today Senate Bill 104 FNA. And this is in part one, it's part of omnibus legislation that deals with the classification of state employee positions, and then also reverse auctions and also community health workers. So my part in part one fell to me as the chairman of the Joint Committee on Employee Classification, and the JCEC is the committee that the legislature has tasked with making sure that changes in employee classifications, and that relates to rates of pay, fall within the expected pay schedules for the particular tasks. In this particular instance, and there are people here from HHS that will elaborate on this, and we also have an amendment for you to consider. So with that, I will leave it to the people from HHS who can go into a deeper explanation of what we are asking for in part one.
Thank you very much, Senator Reagan. I neglected to announce that this was an omnibus bill. So thank you, Senator, for reminding me. Part one was LSR 210403, which is relative to the classification of certain state employee positions, sponsored by Senator Reagan. Part two is LSR 211021, relative to reverse auctions, that was sponsored by myself. And LSR part three is LSR 211044, establishing the position of community health worker in each of the state's regional public health networks, which was sponsored by Senator Prentice. We've already heard from Senator Reagan, so I will now introduce LSR 211021. Thank you all very much. I'm introducing the second part, which concerns reverse auctions. This bill was a request from the Department of Administrative Services. And so hopefully there's going to be someone here this morning who's going to testify about reverse auctions and why we need to do this. So thank you all very much. I would ask you to hold your questions. And finally, let's move on to the third part, which is LSR 211044, and recognize Senator Prentice.
Good morning, Senator Carson and my co-members of ED and A. For the record, my name is Suzanne Prentice, and I am the state senator from District 5, which is along the Connecticut River Valley. Senate Bill, I'm introducing today Senate Bill 104, which I have worked closely with members of the New Hampshire public health community, including the New Hampshire Public Health Association. Senate Bill 104 achieves really two goals. First, this bill would build out New Hampshire's public health infrastructure at the regional and local levels. Today, New Hampshire only has two full-time public health departments, one of which is in Manchester, the other in Nashua, and those are outside of the state Department of Health and Human Services. Not all New Hampshire communities can afford public health departments. 13 key geographic areas were identified for the establishment of public health networks in the late 1990s. These teams share resources in the delivery of public health services, again, on the more local and regional level. Now more than ever with COVID-19, we have witnessed the gaps and the disparities in the healthcare and social service delivery. Secondly, this bill seeks to establish the role of community health workers in each of these 13 public health networks and to fund these positions with an appropriation. As you will hear in testimony to follow, community health workers are frontline, trusted members of the community whose primary functions primarily include increasing access to healthcare and social services, reducing the need for emergency and specialty services, building a better understanding between community members and the health and social service system, enhancing communications between community members and health providers, improving adherence to health recommendations, primary prevention, and improve the quality and cultural competence of service delivery. Additionally, deploying these community health workers across the communities in the state and putting them in public health networks, the community health workers in particular were a recommendation from the governor's COVID-19 Equity Response Team report, which was published in July 2020. Other members of the healthcare and public health community will speak to research now relative to community health worker effectiveness, improving health outcomes, reducing healthcare costs, and bridging gaps in these disparities. I hope we can strengthen the delivery of public health regionally and locally in New Hampshire while achieving this recommendation from the governor's COVID-19 Equity Response Team report. Senate Bill 104, Part 3 is a strategic investment in the health of all Granite Staters. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony this morning. Are there any questions for Senator Prentice? Seeing none. Thank you, Senator. Okay, we're going to start hearing from the public. Let's hear from John Williams. Aaron?
John, you should be able to unmute yourself.
And Mr. Jones, thank you very much. For the record, my name is John Williams. I'm the Director of Legislative Affairs for the New Hampshire Department of Health and Human Services. And Madam Chair, if it's appropriate, if Mr. Jones could also bring in Miss Lori Miss Lori Spring. She's administrator with our Human Resources, and she's joining me on Part 1 of Senate Bill 104, which the department does support, Part 1 of the bill.
Yes, I think that would be fine, Mr. Williams.
I did bring Miss Spring in. She should be able to unmute herself.
Thank you very much. My name is Lori Spring. I'm the Workforce Development Administrator for the Department of Health and Human Services.
And Madam Chair, I wanted to thank you again for allowing Ms. Spring and myself to come before this committee. And you probably recall, starting back in 2018, there's been a series of bills that Senator Reagan has brought before your committee, the Senate ED&A committee, around improvements around classified positions within our agency. The Part 1 actually is a work product of the Joint Committee on Employee Classifications, and we did review the positions, the ones that are being deleted and ones added, and you folks get 100% because everything checks out and is perfect. Our request here today, however, and Senator Reagan was kind enough at our request to bring Amendment 2021-0209S, and it's an amendment that builds on the work that was done in prior bills, starting with Senate Bill 534 back in 2018, again in Senate Bill 27 in 2019, that there was a requirement, a very meaningful one, for the department to conduct a review of its classified positions. And due to the pandemic, we are in the process of doing this, but due to the pandemics, and we have had conversation with key staff at Admin Services who are fine with this request, that we just need to adjust the reporting date on the deliverable for this report. It's a very complex venture, and we're just asking the committee's consideration to extend it from a 4-year to a 7-year period, pushing it from 2022 at the present time to 2025. And I'd like to invite Ms. Spring also to offer any commentary in addition to my comments, and also offer up afterwards any questions from the committee on the requested amendment.
Thank you, John. Yes, we are working hard to meet our obligation to review all of our unclassified positions. COVID-19 has certainly extended many of the timelines. Unfortunately, JCEC was able to meet only once in 2020, which does limit the number of positions we're able to present. So an extension would help us meet that obligation.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much for your testimony this morning. Are there any questions from the committee? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Williams and Ms. Spring.
And Senator Carson, thank you so much. It's great to see you even in a virtual world. Bye-bye.
Well, I guess it's kind of good to be seen too. We all kind of feel like we're hibernating at home, and hopefully we're like the groundhog. Hopefully spring is coming and we're going to be able to go out again. So I'm trying to keep a good attitude about it. But thank you, Mr. Williams. Next, we're going to call Joan Aschheim. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly.
Joan, you should be able to unmute yourself. If you could also identify which part of the bill you're speaking on.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Joanne Aschheim, and I recently retired from the position of Executive Director of the Public Health Association. The Public Health Association is a statewide organization of over 200 healthcare and public health professionals, and for over 25 years, we've advocated for policies that improve the health of New Hampshire's people. Today, we're submitting testimony on behalf of our members and partners in support of SB 104 as it relates to Community Health Workers Part 3. As Senator Prentice said, the deployment of community health workers across the state was a recommendation of the Governor's COVID Equity Task Force report published this summer in July of 2020. And she fairly well defined that these are frontline public health workers who are trusted members with an intimate understanding of their communities that they serve. And therefore, their trusting relationship enables them to serve as a liaison or a link between health and social services and communities to facilitate access to services and improve the quality and cultural competence of service delivery. There's a large body of research now gathered over the last 50 years relative to community health workers and their effectiveness in improving health outcomes, reducing costs, and bridging gaps in health disparities. The most recent case-controlled study found that when community health workers addressed the needs of disadvantaged people in the Medicaid program, there was a return of $2.47 for every dollar spent. So total savings for the 150 people served in that program was $1.4 million saved through the Medicaid program. So this legislation would fulfill that recommendation of the Governor's Equity Response Team by putting a community health worker in each of the 13 public health networks with an investment of $600,000 per year. I wanted to share that the New Hampshire Public Health Association, in partnership with the Department of Health and Human Services Office of Health Equity and the Division of Public Health, has since March co-convened the COVID Equity Task Force. And this task force is a collective of over 60 individuals and organizations representing multiple sectors and communities that have come together to address issues of equity arising from the COVID pandemic and response. Through our work, we've heard of the need to communicate to vulnerable populations in their own language relative to COVID-19, including how to protect oneself, how to get tested, and now why it's important to be vaccinated. Families need help accessing resources such as food, housing, unemployment, transportation, and healthcare. Community health workers would be a tremendous asset to those who have been so greatly affected by the pandemic. But going forward, they can help those most in need to maintain healthy lifestyles, access resources, and realize better health outcomes. Therefore, I urge you to pass this bill and support the appropriation for these critical health workers to improve the health of our vulnerable neighbors with the potential of saving money at the same time. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for your testimony this morning. Are there any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you again for your testimony. Next, we're going to hear from Lindsay Boivert.
Senator, I don't see her on the list. However, if you're here, Lindsay, could you please raise your hand? I don't see a hand raised at this moment.
Okay. Okay, next we will move to Courtney Tanner.
Ms. Tanner, you should be able to unmute yourself, and if you could identify which part you're speaking on.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Madam Chair and honorable members of the committee. For the record, my name is Courtney Tanner, and I'm the Director of Government Relations at Dartmouth-Hitchcock, and I'd like to testify in support of Section 3 of House Bill 104. I would like to thank Senator Prentice for sponsoring the original bill and for Senator Reagan for including this section in Senate Bill 104. While we believe that the limited funding spread across the state will be just a start to build a network of community health workers, we appreciate the acknowledgement of the need and start of dedicated resources for community health workers. Dartmouth-Hitchcock Health has employed 20 community health workers since 2019, and all of them have worked across our health system. So these community health workers have been embedded in the communities of Nashua, Newport, Concord, Lebanon, Keene, Manchester, and New London. Funding for these positions have come from a variety of sources, one of which was the Integrated Delivery Networks, also known as the IDNs. And since 2019, these community health workers have impacted the lives of our patients in a number of tangible ways. We know that a person's health outcomes are largely driven by social determinants, which are the conditions in which a person lives, works, and ages. Community health workers have worked to improve a person's social determinants by helping them to access basic needs, housing, transportation, food. Community health workers are working alongside the most vulnerable patients. For these reasons, Dartmouth-Hitchcock supports investing in these resources to develop a network of community health workers in New Hampshire. We see Section 3 of this bill as a step in the right direction. If there are any questions that Dartmouth-Hitchcock can answer or resources that we can provide relative to community health workers, we're happy to do so. I'm happy to take questions from the committee or to provide resources offline.
Okay, thank you very much for your testimony this morning, Ms. Tanner. Are there any questions from the committee? Okay, seeing none, thank you. Aaron, are there folks in the waiting room who would like to speak?
I do see that there are two people who signed up. Patricia Tilley is one of them.
Okay, why don't we put Ms. Tilley through?
Ms. Tilley, you should be able to unmute yourself, and if you could identify which part of the bill you're speaking on.
So, good morning. Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. For my record, my name is Patricia Tilley. I'm the Deputy Director of the New Hampshire Division of Public Health Services. As we've heard from John Williams and Lori Spring, SB 104 addresses several functional needs within state agencies, but I will be speaking specifically around Section 3 around community health workers. While it's commonly said that all politics are local, it can also be considered that all health and wellness is equally local. As Senator Prentice and the other advocates have described, community health workers are those trusted sources of information and support in our communities. People who live in a community, understand that community, and have the benefit of working for and with some of the health and social services that their community and their neighbors may need. This is not just a feel-good approach. Community health worker interventions show consistent promise in both mental health and chronic disease management. Here in New Hampshire, and specifically in DHHS, We have a patchwork approach to supporting this local work based on siloed federal funding. We have funding to focus on some health priorities and not others. Some communities have access, some don't. But from where we have been able to right now during COVID, as you've heard, we've deployed COVID-19 response community health workers to provide education and testing among communities, among disproportionately affected by COVID. They're the eyes and ears of the community, letting us know what's working and what's not, and how we can improve our outreach. But not only have we focused on COVID, community health workers have also responded to the dramatic declines in cancer screening during the pandemic. And they've worked in communities to reach individuals at higher risk who may have missed their screens, and they were able to allay fears, talk about how doctors' offices were going to keep them safe, and address any other barriers they had. As described earlier, these activities are generally not only just the right thing to do to improve wellness in our communities, but similar efforts across the country have demonstrated how they save real dollars. The recommendation in front of you is a relatively modest investment to ensure that we begin to stitch up this patchwork approach to support community health workers in every corner of the state. Public Health has the capacity to add this to our public health network contracts, in which we strengthen the public health infrastructure in each region. The regions can tell us what's needed in their community, and with this support, they can focus on care coordination and health education that's needed to improve wellness and reduce local and state costs. It aligns and strengthens other initiatives. We're supportive of this concept, as you can tell, but acknowledge that there is a fiscal impact to the general fund, and that will be considered in other conversations. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony this morning, Ms. Tilley. Are there any questions from the committee? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. Okay, Erin, who do we have next?
I do see one other person who signed up, Michelle Graham. However, I don't see her in this call. But Michelle, if you're here, could you raise your hand?
I think I've received an email since we started that Michelle does not want to testify any longer.
Okay, all right. I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing on Senate Bill 104. Okay, how does the committee feel? Is there anything that we've gone through today that you feel you'd like to exec today?
I'd move executive session.
Second.
Okay, Senator Reagan moves executive session, seconded by Senator Kavanaugh. Let me call the roll. Senator Prentice?
Prentice, yes.
Senator Ricciardi?
Ricciardi, yes.
Senator Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Senator Reagan?
Yes.
And Senator Carson? Yes. Okay, which one would you like to take up first? Anybody have any particular?
I'd move Senate Bill 105 ought to pass.
Okay, we have an ought to pass on Senate Bill 105. Is
second.
there, seconded by Senator Kavanaugh? Okay, is there any discussion on Senate Bill 105? Okay, seeing none, I will call the roll. Senator Prentice?
Prentice,
I'm
yes.
sorry, Senator Carson, there is an amendment to Senate Bill 105. It's
Okay.
0183S from Senator Perkins Quokka.
Okay, I don't have that.
Let me refresh that out.
Senator, I could share my screen if you want.
Yes, why don't you please do that? I don't have that amendment. I don't know if anybody else has it either.
Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd move amendment 183 ought to pass.
Okay, I will second that. Are there any questions on amendment number 0183S? Okay, seeing none, I'll go ahead and call the roll. Senator Prentice?
Prentice, yes.
Senator Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Senator Ricciardi?
Ricciardi, yes.
Senator Reagan? Senator Reagan? Okay, and Senator Carson, yes. Aaron, could you remove that and go back to the full screen? I don't know if when we did that, we might have knocked Senator Reagan off.
I am looking to see if he might have rejoined as an attendee, but I don't see him.
All right, it looks like
I do see him now.
Okay. Senator Reagan, we were taking a vote on the amendment.
Yes.
Senator Reagan votes yes. Okay, so we have passed the amendment. Can I get a motion on the bill as
We already have a
amended?
motion on the bill.
Okay, let me just make sure everyone's okay. I'll just call the roll again. Senator Prentice,
Prentice, yes.
Senator Rishardi,
Rishardi, yes.
Senator Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Senator Reagan,
Yes.
and Senator Carson, yes. Okay, Senator, let's see, Senator Kavanaugh, do you want to be responsible for the floor remarks?
Sure.
For this
I'll
one?
move consent on that. Oh,
Okay, we have
yeah.
a motion for consent by Senator Kavanaugh. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Senator Reagan. Is there any discussion on the consent motion? Okay, seeing none. Senator Prentice,
Prentice, yes.
Senator Rishardi,
Rishardi, yes.
Senator Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Senator Reagan,
Yes.
Senator Carson, yes. Senator Kavanaugh,
I'll take
you
it.
can do
Yep.
the, you'll take it. Okay. What about Senate Bill 106?
I'd move Senate Bill 106 ought to pass.
I'll second.
Okay, seconded by moved by Senator Reagan, seconded by Senator Prentice. Okay, is there any discussion on 106, the motion? Okay, seeing none, I will call the roll. Senator Prentice,
Prentice, yes.
Senator Rishardi,
Rishardi, yes.
Senator Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Senator Reagan,
Yes.
Senator Carson, yes. Is there a motion for the consent?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Okay, moved by Senator Kavanaugh, seconded by Senator Reagan. I will call the roll. Senator Prentice,
Prentice, yes.
Senator Rishardi,
Rishardi, yes.
Senator Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Senator Reagan,
Yes.
Senator Carson, yes. And I will take this one. Okay, do you folks want to take up Senate Bill 104?
I'd move Senate Bill 104 ought to pass.
Okay, Senator Reagan moves 104 ought to pass. Is there a
I'll
second? Seconded by Senator Kavanaugh. We have an amendment, which is amendment number 0209S, which speaks to changing the years from 4 to 7 as
I'd
the
move the
testimony.
amendment ought to pass.
Okay, Senator Reagan moves ought to pass on amendment 0209S, seconded by Senator Prentice. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the roll. Senator Prentice,
Prentice, yes.
Senator Rishardi,
Rishardi, yes.
Senator Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Senator Reagan,
Yes.
Senator Carson, yes. We have the motion of ought to pass as amended. And is there any discussion? I believe it's been moved and seconded. So are there any discussions on the bill as amended? Seeing none, I will call the roll. Senator Prentice,
Yes.
Senator Rishardi,
Yes.
Senator Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Senator Reagan,
Yes.
Senator Carson, yes. Is there a motion for consent?
Move consent.
Moved by Senator Reagan. Is there a second? Seconded by Senator Kavanaugh. Is there any discussion on the consent motion? Okay, seeing none, I will call the roll. Senator Prentice,
Yes.
Senator Rishardi,
Yes.
Senator Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Senator Reagan,
Yes,
and Senator Carson, yes. Senator Reagan, would you like to take this one?
great.
Okay, I believe that's all we have. The other bills that we're holding need some work done on them, and they're not ready to come forward at this time. So does anybody have anything they'd
Move
like
to
to bring?
adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Senator Prentice? Looks like you're gonna make time for that phone call. Yes, Mr. Lapine.
There needs to be a motion to come out of executive session before you move to
Yes.
adjourn.
All right, I'll make that motion.
There
Okay,
you go.
Senator Prentice is gonna make the motion to come out of executive session. Is
Second.
there a second? Seconded by Senator Rishardi. I'm going to call the roll. Senator Prentice,
Prentice, yes.
Senator Rishardi,
Rishardi, yes.
Senator Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Senator Reagan,
Yes.
Senator Carson, yes. We have already had a motion to adjourn. Is there any discussion on that adjournment? Seeing none, I will call the roll. Senator Prentice,
Prentice, yes.
Senator Rishardi,
Rishardi, yes.
Senator Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Senator Reagan,
Yes.
and Senator Carson, yes. Thank you all for your time this morning. It's always a pleasure to see you, and hopefully we're going to be able to meet in person soon. So everybody have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Okay, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.